Okay, so here comes the fun part. Hey, what's up, y'all? So, we're working on the 1966 Chevy one-ton dually today. So, in case you're new, this is a 1966 Chevy body, okay? Just a cab sitting over on a 1973 Chevy one-ton frame and drivetrain. V8 engine, 4-speed on the floor, all that cool stuff. On the past couple of videos, we've been fitting a bed. We got a short step-side bed that we have widened out to make it fit over our dually wheels. You see that there? We got that all finished up on the last video. Just get everybody caught up in case you're new. We get a lot of new subscribers in here all the time. You see how we widened that tailgate out? This thing looks pretty cool now. It's all widened out, big enough to go over the dually wheels, like I mentioned just a minute ago. So now that that's all done, welded, bolted together, everything is good on the bed. We got a little more grinding, a little more finish welding to do. We're going to pull off of this bed on today's video, and I want to show you guys something that I talked about on one of the other videos, but I never actually told you guys what was wrong. We've got a situation now. Like I mentioned, this is sitting on a 1973 frame, even though it's a 1966 cab. And what's happened is they have a little bit of an interference issue going on underneath. I'll show you. Let's go underneath. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. This frame and cab aren't meeting up so well in this area. This is toward the back of the cab, and what we've got is the floor right here. We got this little cross member mount right here. All of this is sitting right on top of the frame. The frame kicks up in the most oddest area for this cab. You know, remember there was a different cab sit on here before. Its floor slightly different. Everything worked together much better. What's going on here is it is kicked up there, so there's nowhere to go. Basically, all they had enough room for was one rubber mount right here. I hope the lighting's good enough for y'all to see that. Just one rubber mount right there. And then up front, you can see we've got a whole stack of them. Look at that. Can y'all see that good enough? A whole stack of rubber mounts there just to get them clearance above the frame. What this is doing is this is making it to where our frame rather, is running straight, okay? But the cab is sitting on here like this. By the time we get to the back here, we're sitting way above the frame rails. Look, the frame is down here. You see that? And actually this bed needs to go up even further for it to clear these body lines up here. You guys see the body lines on the back of the cab? So this actually needs to come up to about right in this area to get it in line with these. You would not want to mount your bed too low for this. So by the time this is running uphill toward the back, when you get back here, your whole frame is sitting down below the bed. There's no hiding any of that, y'all. We're trying to bring this truck lower, not higher. So even a roll pan and everything, nothing's going to hide the fact that this frame is hanging way below the body. So the only way to fix this that I know of is we're going to have to actually get in here and do some cutting. Let me pull this seat out of the way and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Oh, and you know what? We should probably take out the gas tank too. Start by hosing everything down with a little bit of WD-40. Easy enough. Oh, cool. Came out pretty easy. Let's see. Oh, that one's already cut. Good. All right. This goes to our fuel gauge. Lose my washer. Let's see. Hopefully these won't fight us too hard. Calm down, one to go. This actually didn't fight us at all. And that's it. That's all that holds this in, aside from this filler neck over here. We don't want to forget to pull the cap off. And that should kind of snake down right in there, hopefully. Otherwise, we're going to have to get up in there and see about getting the hose clamp off. And that's never any fun. Just try our luck at getting this out here. The last one of these I did fought me a little bit, getting it out of that hole over there. This one doesn't seem like it's going to put up a fight at all. I love it when that happens. Tear a wire. Let's get that out of the way. Yeah, we caught a break. Gotta love it. Looks like our filler neck fell off. Put that back on there for now. Keep all this stuff together. Okay, so here comes the fun part. This is what we're going to have to do, y'all. We're going to have to come through here right about where this front body or the cab mount is and zip us a line right through here. We're going to have to cut the floor along both sides just like that, and then across the back. And what's going to happen is the floor is going to stay where it's at, and then this body will drop down where it's supposed to be, and all you're going to end up with is a gap about maybe that big on the sides that you'll have to fill in. It'll be like a big long triangle. It'll start out wide back here, and it'll just go skinny all the way up to where your cut first start up here by this mount. So it won't affect the way the seat bolts in because the seat mounts are way out here. Okay, the only thing that's going to change will be just right underneath the seat. You won't see it or anything. The seat should go back in just fine. There's plenty of room underneath to make this happen, so not too big of a deal. Just something we got to do to make this cab work with this frame, or otherwise it's going to be weird. If we would have stuck with the flatbed idea, we initially, if you didn't hear it, we were going to put a flatbed on here, and that would have hidden all of that. Wouldn't have been that big of a deal, but we decided to go in a different direction, and here we are. So not too big of a deal. I know some of y'all probably be freaking out, but I'm telling you, 3 cuts and we should be able to drop this back down and weld it up. It shouldn't affect the way our gas tank fits in. It shouldn't affect the way our seat fits in or anything. We should be good to go. So to kind of help us out when it comes time to cut along the back of the cab, I figured we would go ahead and take our gas tank mounts out of the way. Pretty simple. It's just got a few bolts on the bottom that come out, and then you have to drill out all the spot welds on the back of the cab you see there. Once that's done, this will slide right out of the way. Looks like we could do a little rust converting underneath there while we got it apart. That'll be good for it. But yeah, we're going to be cutting along back here, and that was most definitely in the way. I'll show you guys how I did it over here. Super easy. We'll start off by taking a couple of these bolts out. It's got those, and then it's got this is an actual body mount bolt here. That's got to come out. This one decided to put up a little bit of a fight. Let's hose it down with some WD, and then we'll hit it up with Salvage scripts and try it again. She was a fighter. So with the bolts out, we'll start on our spot welds. You could do these however you want. You could use a spot weld bit, you could grind them out, whatever you want to do. I do it like this. I just drill myself a little 1/8 inch pilot hole. When you have a nice sharp bit, it goes through like hot butter. After that, we will swap the bit out with a unibit. That's just a step bit. Starts from little and goes to big. Starts out at 1/8 inch, so it fits right into my little pilot hole there. And just like that, we've drilled out our spot weld. We'll go through here and do that a dozen more times and we'll have this off of here. So having those out of the way, we'll be able to come through and cut just like we need to. And you can see our spot welds running right through here. That's that brace underneath I showed you guys a minute ago. We got to cut right alongside of that. And this is where our seat mounts in. So you can see where our cut is going to be just under the seat. So we won't be affecting any of this stuff. The seat will still sit on the floor just like it's supposed to. And just in case this is kind of confusing, you're not really understanding what's going on, essentially what we're doing is the floor stays where it's at and the body is going to lower itself down. And we're talking like this much. It's not a whole lot, but it's enough to get everything sitting on the frame nice and straight so that when we get everything mounted on here, it's all running straight on the frame and not running uphill. That's all we're doing. We'll start underneath here on the passenger side. Here's the brace. We're just going to come along right along the side of it. Perfect little straight edge. It ought to work out great. So there's our first cut. You see how it goes all the way up to that front mount. I don't believe we're going to have to go any further than that. I believe we should be able to hinge right off of that front mount. Alright, we're just going to repeat the same process over on the driver's side, obviously. I'm going to take my sawzall right through this here. This is right next to the body mount. We'll cut through that and then we'll be cutting right into the back wall. Alrighty, you can see it's already starting to go down. Look at that. You see what's happening there? Now basically what's going to happen is with our next cut, this triangle, do you remember the triangle where it's going to be wide and then go narrow toward the front? Well, that's going to get bigger. It'll probably be about, I'd say probably about that tall when we're done. Not very tall, probably maybe about like that is what I'm guessing. We'll find out in just a minute. But yeah, we just got to make the last cut go across the back. So we got a ton of room between the cab and this frame up front. They were trying to compensate for what was going on in the rear back there. I'm going to go ahead and jack this up and take out probably at least 2 of those spacers. Bring this down just a little bit as well. Kind of help even things up a little bit. We'll come around here to the inside. See if we can't go ahead and get the bolt out of the way. If we got this up high enough, we might could pull this out of here. Otherwise, we'll have to jack it up a little bit more. Yeah, there we go. This is actually like 2 mounts coming together. I guess they fit together like that. What I was thinking is we'd take this set up to the side and trim off 2 of these rings. I think that'll get us just fine. Okay, so that is much shorter now. We can drop that back in there. We'll get the bolt going back through the hole, get this set back down where it goes. Alright, so we got to repeat the whole process over on the other side, obviously. So with that out of the way, we can come in here and make our final cut. We'll go across the back now. We're going to go just above where those brackets go that hold the tank in. We'll go right across right there. You can see where this is starting to open up now. Look at that. It's going to open up just slightly more than that. You see what I was talking about though, how it'll be a little triangle. It'll start out kind of fat and then go skinny all the way towards the front. You can see what I mean. It's just not really going to have a big effect on the way the seat fits, and it won't have any effect on the way the tank fits or any of that. It all should be okay. Just going to run me a line of tape through here to kind of mark our cut. Nice little straight edge. That ought to work. I'm going to use my cutoff wheel for this. It is worth mentioning that we've got this all supported now. You'll see what I've got going on here. I've got a floor jack right there, 4x4 going across, and then it sits up on these. This gets us down below the exhaust and everything, right? But it is supported on both sides, and right now I'm going to make that final cut. Okay, so at this point, we actually want this piece to tuck up inside and let this piece slide down over it. That way, you know, you got water running down in behind there. Get rid of that now, I don't need it anymore. And let's go ahead and push this panel back in on the back side there. Kind of get in here, kind of work this in a little bit. We'll let the jack down and let this piece come down over this piece. Yeah, like that. Now we'll come over and do the other side. It's pretty good right there, I think. So there it is. That's all we ended up needing to do, that right there. Pretty simple. We'll go through and we'll sheet metal screw this all back together. You see that's going to fit right up against there perfectly for welding. And that's the way I like to do it. I'll just screw it to it and then we'll weld it. Then we'll take the screws out, plug all the holes and do all of that. Then we can put our bracket back in there. Like I mentioned earlier, we're going to need to do some kind of rust reforming there between those two panels. I think that'll definitely do her justice. But what do you think, man? Was you guys a little worried there at the beginning, wondering like what the hell's he doing? Simple little modification to get this cab to fit on this frame. Some of you might say, well, why didn't you just modify the frame? That would have been way more work and it would have required removing the cab. This is the simplest way that I know of. And you guys feel free, leave comments, man. Always welcome your input. I think it's pretty cool over in the old comment section. If you never stopped by the comment section, I recommend you do so. Lots and lots of support over there. Lots of good ideas. Everybody's cool, man. Really good place to be. So now that I've got all of our rubber mounts, everything is just right. We've got this thing kind of settled down on the frame the way it needs to be now. So now what's happening is our rocker panel and our frame rail underneath are running the same. They're both level. You see how we can start to peek underneath here and everything. Once you start to see that frame and all that stuff, it all looks nice and straight underneath there. The cab is no longer running uphill toward the back. And you can see what a huge difference it makes. Look at this. Look at the corner right here where the filler neck is for the gas tank and compare it to the bed now. You see how the bed's up too high now? That's what we want. That's exactly what we want. Now we know we're going to be clearing those body lines, these here. We're going to be hiding those. That's what we want. Even after we remove this, you guys remember, this has got a big block welded on top of here that allowed for the big U-Haul box or whatever used to be on the back of this thing to sit on. We don't need that no more. We want that gone. I want this to sit right on the frame just like it's supposed to from the factory. So this will drop down just a little bit and it all should still line up once we're done. I think what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and get this thing locked into place. We're going to go ahead and fill in that area, and then obviously we need to screw this to the back wall, get that welded, get our brackets and everything for the gas tank to fit back in there. So I'm going to start with this. I've already got me a piece marked. Check it out over here. Yeah, I've got me another piece of that scrap metal that we've been using on the rest of it. This all started life as grocery store shelves, y'all, and it's made some really good steel for this old project. You can see where I've already got it all marked through here. That matches the contour of that floor perfectly. We'll trim that off first, get it in there and see if we can't get some tacking going on. So now that I got that trimmed out, I like to take my flapper wheel here on the other grinder and just kind of trim that right back. It gets rid of all of the burrs, makes it nice and smooth so it don't cut you, and it'll get us right back to our line just perfectly. Okay, so I think that's going to get it. You see what I'm talking about? How I just kind of grind up to that magic marker. Just left myself just a tiny little bit. That'll be the allowance for the thickness of the sheet metal on the floor when we slide this piece in. I want it to tuck down just far enough that we could go underneath and get some welds from the bottom as well. But that's it, man. That's our piece. It's going to fit right in there for our first section. So before we do any welding, we got to go grind off all the old paint around the edges. You guys know the deal. When I get into these weird little areas that my grinder won't reach, I just get out my reamer bit. This is on my die grinder, and it gets into those areas pretty nice. Now it's worth mentioning, you don't want to get carried away. We don't want to thin the metal. We just want to work the paint off of it. You thin the metal, you make it a lot harder to weld and make it weak and all that. So let's get our piece slid up in there. Try to get a little clamp on it somewhere. Now suppose if you wanted styling points on this, what you could do instead of running it straight up and down, you could get a little fancy with it and you can cut your piece so that it will lean over to the side, you know, so that you got a little angle. That's cool. But we're under the seat. We don't care. You're not going to see any of this. It'll be fine. So we're not getting too carried away with it. We're just going for functionality at this point. So anyway, I'm going to get this piece in here, get us a little clamp on it. Let's see if we can't hold it into position while we do some welds. What do you think? There's our next one. Okay, so we are officially in place now. Let's get us some screws in this back wall, kind of help hold all that back together. Use the sheet metal screws. I like to drill a pilot hole, it just makes it a little easier. Do that all the way across. Suck those two panels back together before we put any welds on anything. So yeah, with that all screwed together, it'll make it a lot easier to weld. You definitely wouldn't want there to be a gap between those two panels when you're welding. I wanted you guys to see something. When we slid those two panels together, you know, we slid this one down over that one. Look, we now have a backing for our spot welds when we go to put those back in to weld that bracket on. We're not going to have to be filling up any holes or anything. We can weld it straight to that and then make a nice little plug weld out of it. And then you come around over here and looky there, all the holes are gone. Y'all remember it had a whole bunch of holes where we drilled the bracket. They're all gone. We get covered up with this because it slid down over the panel with all the holes in it. So all you're left with is just a couple over on the side, and that's it. So this is going to be a nice clean look when we're done. We'll get it all welded up, and we could go back in and just spot in our paint work. Not a big deal. You won't see it anyway once this is all pushed together, but that will be so easy to spot that in with a little bit of orange spray paint, because that's all any of this whole paint job is. In case anybody watching has missed it, go back and watch some of the older videos of this truck. We brought it a long way to get it to this color combination with the patina and all of that. This thing used to be the ugliest shade of purple I've ever seen, and I think it looks really cool now. It looks like an old truck that's just weathered. But anyway, eventually we'll tie the bed in with all that too, make it look really cool. For right now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a few more welds through all of this just to kind of lock it all down, and then when we come back on the next video, I think it's time we shorten the truck, y'all. What do y'all think? Check this out, y'all. I found a really good use for the old spare tire rack. That works out really nice. We'll swap that out for a little bit, get some welding done. Let's throw a few spot welds on here. Probably should have took a grinder through here and got some of that old paint off, but that's okay. If you ever find yourself in a situation like that, just take your drill with a little 1/8 inch bit on there and just run it right through there. Nice to have that out of the way. I think that's going to do for now across the back. We'll do a little more on the side over here, I guess. Well, alright, y'all. What do y'all think, man? Check it out. I think we're off to a really good start. We got a little piece, still a little piece we got to put in right there. Not a big deal. This is what I was talking about before, you know. Obviously, this guy's going to go right there, just like that. And we'll re-weld all of that in. And no worries, I've done some measurements. The gas tank should fit. Use that term loosely, but you know what, even if it don't, I could care less, because we kind of wanted to get that out of there anyway. We were saving that for a future project, but maybe we'll just go ahead and tackle that now. Hang on, let me do my Mr. Rogers here. I'll do a little wardrobe change. There we go. Get my cap back on there. Alright, so yeah, man, it wouldn't be nothing just to throw a little aftermarket tank or maybe something out of a salvage yard. In fact, I just so happen to have a tank that I think will fit right in this area perfectly. So little things like that, not too big of a deal. I think we'll manage. That's the least of our worries, man. I mean, look at what we just accomplished here. I mean, if we could pull stuff like that off and then stuff like that and on, I don't see why we couldn't relocate a fuel tank. Super easy. And then we'll stick the neck back in there as a dummy, you know, so that it just looks like it still has its old tank, even though it don't. But anyway, I'll get this finished up. I'm not going to cheat you guys out of anything. So basically, when we come out with the next video, we'll just pick up where we left off. We'll finish welding. We'll get over to the other side, piece that in, and show you guys the difference. I don't even know if you could tell on camera, but having this thing sitting down on the frame like it needs to, you can see a huge difference. You can see just how much that bed needs to come down a little bit, which will be nice, because then it'll fill up our little wheel gap we got going on there. I hate that. Don't want that. Obviously, we're up on the jack stand, so there's no weight. Once we get the weight down, this will come down a little bit. And then I think I mentioned earlier, I've got drop spindles that we're going to stick in the front with some lowering springs. So we're going to bring the front end of this thing down. We're going to make it look nice. We don't do wheel gap here. Here at Weird Beards, we are anti-wheel gap, man. We want this down here somewhere, like way down here if it were me. But that's just the kind of guy I am, man. Different strokes for different folks. I know a lot of y'all just ain't into that kind of stuff, but trust me, man, you're going to love this. It's going to look so good. Yeah, once we get these big old blocks out of the way and we get the bed sitting down on the frame like it's supposed to, we get everything all shortened up. It's going to be short and fat. It's going to look really good, kind of like a Hot Wheels car if you ask me. Stick with me, man. Come on, don't bail on me now. You're going to love this. I just wanted to give you guys a little update on what the issue was. I teased y'all about a couple videos ago. I didn't ever come back and tell y'all what was going on, and well, this is what it was. It just wasn't sitting on the frame right. This is how I got the truck. For anybody that didn't know, this is the way I got it. So I knew I had a few little things I had to change, and that was the biggest one. With that straightened out, we should be able to get the bed sitting down on it the way it needs to, and then that's when everything will really start tying together. We'll get the truck shortened, get it lowered down to the ground a little bit, maybe a little C-notch in the rear. I don't know. We'll see. But lots to do on it still, and no worries for all you guys wondering what happened to the Fury. We're going to bring that one back in here pretty soon too. I just really wanted to get this one moving along. I didn't want it just sitting outside. So now that we've got this one well on its way, we're going to do a few more things to it, and then we'll bring that Fury back in. I promise. But for right now, I got to get on out of here. This video is getting kind of long. I'll see y'all next time.